Welcome back to the Tiga Tactics Podcast, show about self-defense for civilians by civilians. We discuss all things personal protection, including martial arts, combat sports, and street combatives. Our resident MANs martial arts nerds include co-founder of Tiga Tactics and holder of black belts in 9 different styles, Dr. Conrad Bui.
Hello, everybody.
We're missing Patrick again. Don't worry, he'll be on the next podcast. But I am your other co-host, retired Army Special Forces soldier and champion obstacle course racing athlete, Evan Ultra-OCR man Perperis. Today we're going to be talking about knife control concepts. Before we get to that, though, a quick word about Vulpes training products. Vulpes training products, great training weapons, whole variety. There's literally hundreds. Go check out their website. I'm going to drop the link down below. I just got one of their Hawaiian weapons. Super cool looking, and I just ordered one of their Maori weapons, like some sort of war club thing. So yeah, lots of stuff.
Wait. I thought I
Bookmark.
ordered mine first. How'd you get yours so early?
I messaged him and I was like, hey, I need this for something I'm doing.
Just kidding. Come on, that's awesome.
Yeah, so go check them out. Link down below. Let's jump into today's podcast because we're pressed for time. We are talking about knife control concepts today. It is a counter knife system developed by Aaron Jenetti with Eli Knight, and there's one other guy who was not at the seminar who I don't remember his name, but it's essentially knife grappling. So the bad guy has the knife, and you have to essentially control him, wrestle the knife away. So I had been following them for a while. I'd been to a seminar with Aaron before, the Clinch the Neck seminar, which we've talked about on this podcast, and I had to cancel my appearance at Knife Control Concepts, and I rescheduled it for later in the year. Saw there was one by Conrad's home, and flew out to California for the weekend to train at Knife Control Concepts. So, I guess Conrad, give me some of your initial thoughts on the weekend.
Yeah, well, first, the weekend was a blast having you over, hanging out. That was totally fun. And then the seminar I thought was solid. They had good organization. Everything was presented in an orderly fashion, and it had progressive training. In other words, they introduced a move and some concepts with that move. Then they had you drill it. Uh, and then they introduced the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then it was basically a day full of drills. What did you think of it?
Yeah, no, you nailed it. It was nonstop drilling. So it wasn't like in ShivWorks there was like a really high intense pressure test at the end. Knife Control Concepts was just mostly drilling, but it was nonstop drilling for 6 hours.
Hmm.
I think it was 6 hour seminar, no lunch break. We took 5 minutes at the top of every hour to go to the bathroom real quick or get a sip of water or a snack if you want, and then it was like right back into it. So it was like by the end of the 2 days, I was very tired. And I
Yeah.
liked how the drills all built on each other, right? So it wasn't like a single move in isolation. It was like, here's a starting position, right? Like the 2-on-1 grip on the wrist. And then here's a position you can transition to. And then here's another position you can transition to. And if the guy does something to counter it, here's how you counter the counter. And it was it essentially created like a flow chart of moves that you could drill and rep, and then go back home. And if you have a training partner or you have a friend that does jujitsu, or you want to stick around after class, you can practice drill and kind of continue to get better at it.
Yeah, and you can also like if you're part of a jujitsu or wrestling class that does stand-up grappling, you could use these empty hand as well too, so you can kind of drill it with your partner in class without them knowing that you're kind of doing knife control concepts, and this would flow somewhat okay.
Yes. So Aaron actually mentioned that at the end of class, and I've been doing similar stuff for the last like year in jiu-jitsu class. Well, I'll just be like, I'm training knife stuff today, and my partner doesn't know it, and I'll lock one hand and try to like maneuver around them, and then it usually turns into jiu-jitsu. It's regular jiu-jitsu at some point,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I definitely do get some of my reps in just rolling with people as part of my normal jiu-jitsu class. So very cool,
All right,
very
so why
cool.
don't we just take them through day one real quick and what happened in day one? I'll get started. Day one, they jumped right into it, and we started with the front two-on-one wrist tie. So if you can imagine if someone's right hand was sticking towards you as if they had a knife, you would just grab their wrist, and you would just basically shove your your forehead into their face right there, and we started out with that one, and I thought that was a very interesting position. We used that position quite a bit, so much that I had like skin falling off my forehead on Monday and Tuesday afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. That was lots of that front 2-on-1 position.
And then later on, we went into the side 2-on-1, which was more common name is the Russian tie as well too. So maybe they're being super forceful, and you just swing off to the side. And so this one's a little harder to explain on a podcast without video. So just look up Russian tie. And they called it a side 2-on-1 for like someone that's very aggressive, and you just kind of move into that position there. So you'll be latching on with your left arm around their arm, kind of hugging it like a bit like a little teddy bear. And you just kind of hold on there, and your right hand is still holding on to their wrist there. And so we moved into that, and then we kind of flowed from one position. So the original front 2-on-1, then we moved to the side 2-on-1, kind of flowed back and forth with that. Yeah, and like what we talked about, it was just a day full of drilling, and so we got into those two positions, and then we worked into a back control position as well too. Uh, I like how they organized it. So you had the front, the side, and then the back control as well too. Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, I like the front 2-on-1. Essentially, that's part of Tiga tactics, knife defense. Like it's kind of like towards our like our ending position.
Hmm.
I'm the Russian tie. I've had minimal success using it in jujitsu against other grapplers. I'd be curious to try it against someone who has like very little grappling experience to see if I'm a little more effective. Um, but I need to, I want to take out some of the techniques I learned from knife control concepts and test it out more in jujitsu. I just haven't had the opportunity yet. And then the back control position, I wasn't just the position you end up where you're kind of one hand on the hip and one hand on the arm. I wasn't necessarily crazy about that position, but it made for like a nice complete drill. So I did like that about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. That back control position, if you can imagine, you're on your partner's back. They're facing front, and you're facing front in the same direction. And basically, you have your hands on their elbow, and your on their elbow, your fingers, almost your fingers, and part of your palm on their elbow, and then your elbows are squeezed really tight, like Wing Chun tight kind of thing, and you're getting control that way with your chest on their back. And I agree with you. Maybe we didn't drill it enough, we didn't train enough. I didn't feel very comfortable in that position, being able to control someone. Like if someone violently just turned around, I'm not I wouldn't feel like I had such a good hold on them where I could control them. But I think either with training, that position might become more efficient, or maybe a little tweak here and there will make it more efficient as well too.
Yeah, the army uses a very similar back control position, except they grab the forearm like a seatbelt
Hmm.
um, from behind, and then so does there's a knife system called ISR Matrix. Their knife system's called Matador. They've got a very similar position where it's that like seatbelt position where you're behind them, but your
Hmm.
both hands are on your forearm, and like one hand is covering the knife hand, so
Right.
it's preventing the knife hand switch. It's like it's pinning the hand against the person's body. So
Mm.
very similar, very similar.
Okay. Right. And then
Uh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go for it. Go.
Oh yeah, and then speaking of the split seatbelt, we moved into that split seatbelt where someone might be pulling the knife away, and then it kind of like you just control with your left hand, and then with your right hand you reach around their back, and then you trap their elbow. So you might have to YouTube this one as well too. Uh,
I,
recently, it's
I
been
love
called.
this. I love this split seatbelt position. It's one of my favorite. They
Mhm.
use it a lot in Shivworks, And when people would get it to me, get it on me in shipworks, I would feel completely helpless. I was like, this is the worst position to be in the world. Because they essentially one of your arms is up high, so you can't do anything with it, like you can't hit with it, and the other arm is stuck to your side. It is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a solid position. If you watch MMA, UFC, you might have heard it referred to as the Dagestani handcuff thing. And so yeah, if you can get there, that's salvation right there. Yeah, so that's a solid position there as well too. And finally, we went into the fifth position, which is inside 2-on-1, which is basically similar to the number one position, the front 2-on-1, except instead of your your uh, your head to head, you're kind of like ear to ear instead. So you're kind of chest to chest, ear to ear. Maybe your head slipped off or something like that. And I thought that was more like a transition position rather than something you'd want to hang around in. And so we basically drilled those five positions that first day, and then uh, there were drills that integrated the different reactions of the opponent. So the opponent's just hanging out, you just hang out, they start pushing into you, you would go into the side 2-on-1. If they pull back really hard, you would go into that split seatbelt. If they're circling a certain way, you might take their back. So we started to integrate that into a nice little flow drill towards the end there.
Yeah, absolutely. I had taken their online course before, so I was generally familiar with the position. So I like being pre-exposed to material and then going in,
Hmm.
being able to rep it and kind of get a little more tweaks to kind of fine tune it. That way, I had that like framework in my mind going in, and then
Right.
I was able to like fill in some of the details. So, yeah, I really enjoyed day one. I thought it was great.
All right.
Um,
Yeah,
Day
I
two.
did. I did what you
Oh,
did too. I went online, checked their Instagram, looked at their positions. Like Aaron said, he really doesn't hold anything back, even online. So if you guys aren't already doing so, follow their accounts. They show you quite a bit online already there.
yeah, and then so let's jump into day two real quick.
Right.
Day two was all it was essentially ground position. So it
Mm-hmm.
starts with like you've taken the person to the ground, so like they're kind of on all fours, and we kind of went through a very similar progression of like kind of a front position, a side position, and a back
Right.
position. So I liked how it kind of the ground portion mirrored the stand-up portion. And Eli Knight was the one primarily as like the head instructor for the ground portion, who also has a couple of it's called Bladed Grappler DVDs, or I guess they're not DVDs, they're just digital downloads now through Aperture Fight Focus. So
Mm-hmm.
I've watched his first one. I own two and three, but I have not watched them. And he's also like there's some of the stuff on the Bladed Grappler I don't really use anymore. Some of it I still do. But it that wasn't I wasn't as familiar with that day two material as I was with day one. So for me that was like a little bit of a steeper learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that was cool also, just to kind of run through some. I like how the grounded portion mirrored the standing portion. I think day two was physically more tiring,
Yeah.
which I think it was physically more tiring, but we also like we trained for 6 hours the day before, and then me and you went and did Muay Thai for an hour, and then we went back to your house and did like firearms training for an hour. So it might have been that too.
Yeah, that could have done it. Yeah, definitely like what you said. It mirrored day one. I liked how that worked. So they made it somewhat modular, and so we had very similar positions, like the front 2-on-1, the Russian tie position, the back control as well too. And so that was pretty cool how they were able to make it modular like that.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on day two before we get into like pros and cons?
Uh, yeah. Definitely more tiring because you're getting up and down,
Yes.
and just also carrying your partner's weight too. Like they're just leaning on you and pushing on you with all those positions. So yeah, that was a little more tiring, but still definitely safe as well too. So uh, that's all I have to say about day two.
Eli Knight also has like the driest humor I've ever heard. He's so dry. Like he would make jokes and then like he wouldn't react, and I was like, was that a joke or was he being serious? And then he doesn't acknowledge it. Which I thought would like in hindsight was just really funny.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, very interesting humor on him.
Yeah, yeah, I have observed that as well.
But overall, I really like, again, just like when I said with the Wreck the Next seminar, I really like Aaron's teaching method. Same with Eli. I like how they teach, I feel like, multiple things at once. So Aaron would talk about jujitsu, or talk about Krav Maga, talk about combatives, and kind of like
Hmm.
cover multiple topics on like why this would be a good position for that, but may not be a good position for that. So just yeah, big fan of his teaching method, and I would anything that he's teaching in the future. You know, got his he's an instructor in Krav Maga, black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I like his stuff. I would recommend taking any of the things he offers in the future.
Yeah, I recommend his seminars as well too. Both him and Eli Knight. They delivered a solid seminar there.
Okay, let's do some pros and cons. Give me some. Go for
Absolutely.
it.
Okay, so let's work. Let's do the pros. I thought again, well organized, and one of the biggest pros for me was that it was pretty safe, and so I don't think there were any injuries as far as I knew. One guy, I think he just ran out of breath or something like that. But if you're afraid of being injured or something like that, if you're in relatively good health, I think you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say you just have to be comfortable again being in like hugging range, what I call it, or grappling range, right? So
Mhm.
there's gonna be a lot of contact, like physical contact, but not super hard. It's just you're close to another human being. So
Right. So it checked off the safe box. Was it fun for you, Evan?
yeah, it was a ton of fun. Again, Aaron and Eli were actually both like near my top of my list of like the next two guys I want to train with. So I didn't know Eli was going to be there. So when I found out, I was really excited. So kind of
Hmm.
like checked off two birds of one stone there. I was like, nice.
Yeah,
And then I got to
yeah,
hang out with you all weekend, which was awesome.
yeah,
So.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely fun. They're both good instructors and effective. What do you think of the effectiveness?
Yeah, it was good. I thought it was a great way. I talk about this in my On Bladed Combatives book, which I wrote before I took the in-person seminar, and I concur with what I wrote previously. I think knife control concepts get you a lot of reps building those movements, which is
Mhm.
going to allow you to do actual like controlling someone's knife in a real life situation better. Am I going to use the exact technique from knife control concepts? Maybe, maybe not. But the ability to like play and train with it, I think uh, was really good. And I think if you let knife grappling become a sport, I think it would look a lot like knife control concepts would eventually kind of develop into.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a solid foundation for for a knife grappling sport for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was all positive stuff. What about the cons?
Do you want to go first? I know exactly what you're going to say because I was going to say the same thing.
Okay, well, maybe not. I would just say the cons might be if you're not in somewhat okay shape. Like you don't have to be in great shape to take this, but if you're looking for something a little more mellow, this might not be for you. Excuse
That's
me,
fair.
be for you because there's a lot of contact, there's a lot of sweating. It's not extreme contact. It's not like 6 hours of grappling in jujitsu or something. But if you do jujitsu, it's kind of 6 hours of drilling, and
Yes.
that can get kind of tiring. So if you're not in okay shape, uh, you might want to kind of get up to that before you take this course. That might be a con for some people.
Yeah. The biggest con me and you talked about in the car afterwards was all the positions start from that front side 2-on-1, that 2-on-1 wrist control,
Right.
but they don't address how you get to that double grab on the wrist,
Hmm.
um, which is I think is easier said than done. It's very hard to grab someone's wrist, especially someone who's doing essentially what real bad guys with knives do, which is essentially what Medusa is. Essentially, it's repetitive sewing machine or psycho stab type attacks, where it's very violent and very hard to grab. So I know if we said that to them, they would say you should come to knife control concepts too, because they cover that knife control concepts too, which I have not made it to. So maybe I'll change my tune afterwards. But for me, what what I would recommend for if people who are like really interested in counter knife stuff, I would recommend coming to Tiga Tactics, getting that because we addressed getting to that 2-on-1 from a free swinging knife. And then I would go to knife control concepts to get you used to moving through all those positions.
Right.
And then I would go to ShivWorks because I think knife control concept is going to flow really well into ShivWorks because ShivWorks starts from that entangled position.
Mm.
And then their final pressure test is like really
Mm.
hard. So I think that provides a nice kind of increase in intensity as well as essentially going from 2 steps out to 1 step out to 0 steps out. Like it's
Yeah.
building in from like a little bit of distance to very close. I like that progression model. That would be my recommendation for anyone who wants to do counter knife stuff.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Tiga tactics, how we approach it using the PRO tactic of P standing for protect yourself first. If you're stabbed once, try not to get stabbed the second time. Put a barrier there between you and that object. And so protect yourself, then restrain that weapon somehow, and get that's where that 2-on-1 comes in. But then being able to reposition yourself to where you can restrain that weapon, and then finally go on the offense. And we didn't address any offense either. It was mostly the reposition and restrain section of our PRO method of dealing with attacks.
That's true. And again, they would say come to knife control
Right.
concepts too. So
R3.
because they say they cover that in knife control concepts too, which again I'm going to try to get to this year. So I'm sure we'll revisit this at some point, and I'll have more to say on that. But yeah, that grabbing that 2-on-1 is always it's a lot. It's very difficult, and uh, if you don't have a plan for that, even if it's not the best plan, if you don't have a plan that's violently executed, you're going to have a lot of trouble doing that. I know some of the knife defenses I learned in karate or Filipino martial arts. Some of them it was just like it was like you're just not going to be able to grab the hand. And
Right.
I feel like knife systems like Tiga Tactics or even Martial Braid Concepts has like they use a similar like way to catch the hand and they account for like the reciprocating motion. It's not
Mm.
my favorite method, but they at least address it. I think you need to make sure that that's part of your counter knife system. Like understand that the person is going to stab once and their arm's not going to freeze. It's going to reciprocate back and forth because that's what bad guys do, as we know from CCTV video. So,
Absolutely. All right.
yeah. Well, I know we have to get going, so this was a kind of a quick podcast. But overall, I enjoyed it. I'm going to go to KCC too. I would recommend it for people. And again, I recommend that. I like that progression model of Tiga Tactics, knife control concept, ship works for your empty hand knife defense. And that's what I recommend in my book on bladed combatives, available directly from teamstrengthspeed.com or off Amazon. Although I would buy it from me directly because it's much more expensive on Amazon.
Oh, yeah, and it's a thick book.
300 pages.
Yeah. Definitely
300
very
pages on knife stuff.
comprehensive. I'm sorry?
300 pages on knife stuff.
Very comprehensive and very focused, very niche. So if you're into knives, you gotta have this book.
Absolutely. Final shout outs we need to give Conrad.
All right. Well, just real quick, we do have a Tiga Tactics seminar coming up in Maryland, our tool set training tour in Baltimore, Maryland area, April 18th and 19th. Come and join us for that. Afterwards, in June 3rd and 4th, I'll be at the Rocky Mountain Thunder in Colorado. So come join me for that. And that's about it. What about you, Evan?
I just did a free webinar with Phil Elmore talking about runner. Well, it's not just runner. It focuses on runner attacks, but it's real world attacks and kind of lessons learned from them. You can find that on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/at Ultra-OCR man, or you can find it on my Facebook page, facebook.com/, Ultra-OCR man. And then me and Phil are doing a fruit knife webinar on
Oh my
March
gosh.
5th. So very niche. So essentially, it's Pakal. So
Mm.
reverse grip, edge in, primarily use of a small bladed knife. So actually, I'm doing a reverse grip and forward grip for the seminar, but it's kind of niche. Phil sells fruit knives on his website, his Etsy store, Engines of Mayhem, and we're doing a kind of a deep dive into the topic. And that is part of the larger Urban Warlord curriculum. And if you want to know what that is, check the link down below. And then you can check the free webinar as well. I'll drop that link down below. It talks about a little bit about Urban Warlord and some of the funny nonsense we have going on, but with serious topics.
I can't wait. And I'm looking forward to that fruit knife seminar. I always learned from my mom and dad to try to cut away from you instead of towards you, but I'm open-minded.
Yeah, it's got its pros and cons. So we'll discuss it in the webinar. It's yeah. Ed Calderon of the Lab likes that reverse grip edge in. Shivworks likes that reverse grip edge in as well as forward grip edge in. I've got sometimes there's caveats. There's caveats. I'll say that.
All
Yeah,
right. Well, if you're a knife nut, you should learn everything and decide for yourself what you like.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, and I also feel like you can learn from almost anyone.
Right.
And you don't have to necessarily take that and be like, well, this is now part of what I do. But I think it's a good worthwhile to hear them out, listen, and be like, I like that, I dislike that,
Hmm.
and but going back to the Bruce Lee episode,
Yeah, absolutely.
discard what's useless, or whatever. All right, we're gonna get going. Check out the links down below, and we will see you in a couple days because I'm gonna put out 2 podcasts this month, even though I'm super late on this one.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Later.